Thank you for listening to the Who's Flying the Plane podcast. I'm Alex, and you'll hear me interviewing creative people about their influences, careers, and work. My guest this week is musician, producer, and member of the 8-person musical collective Vibe World Order, Reg Mason. He just released a solo EP called Speedway Deluxe, which you can listen to by following the link in the description for this episode. You working on new music today then? You just got in?
Yeah. I had to drop off my girl at Staten Island. She lives like a good half hour away from here, stuff like that. And then I drove my way over to Brooklyn because I live in New Jersey, which is like the state over.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I read in your, I was reading about you and your first thing with music, your first involvement with it, was you going to punk shows and hardcore stuff, which I always thought that was just in New York. That's like a pretty small scene, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like, that's definitely true. Like New York, like punk scene, hardcore scene is definitely, it's somewhat, I'm not gonna say alive and well, but it's very much still there, and it's in the underground. Like it's like there's still a very, I feel like it's a very vital scene to have like around here and stuff like that. It keeps things gritty, and there's a lot of people still coming to the shows, but over in New Jersey, it's fairly dead over there. Everybody is either like moved over to New York or PA because their hardcore and punk scenes are just way more lively as opposed to Jersey's. Like New Jersey is basically where you go to retire.
Right, okay. Well, there's no music scene. There's not punk. There's nothing at all over in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, New Jersey's hip-hop scene is starting to bubble up. Like, it's been bubbling for years, but now there's a good amount of like artists in that specific scene that are starting to cross over and stuff without feeling the need to kind of hide or omit the fact that they're from New Jersey, which I think is like really cool. Like there's this one artist who I went to the same high school with. Her name is Nija, and she just dropped like a 3-track EP after going on this like multi-year run where she was on the Lion King soundtrack with Beyonce. She was writing for Cardi B and Chris Brown and all these other acts, and that was wild. They named like a whole street after her. And then there's a bunch of other acts like, you know, Fat Boys, Samad Savage, and yeah, just a lot of people doing Jersey proud. I haven't seen this many artists from New Jersey come together in a very, very long time. Probably since like Lauryn Hill and like the Fugees or something like that.
So there's always been, you've got a long history of hip hop stuff going on in New Jersey then. I didn't realize they were out of New Jersey. I thought they'd be New York or something.
Yeah, I mean, that misconception happens all the time since like New York being like the actual birthplace of hip hop. We're neighbors. So it's like it doesn't really bother us per se, like us being from New Jersey, because it's like we're basically sisters.
Yeah,
like that.
okay.
So we get that a lot.
So did you get involved with hip hop in the first place because that was the scene that was there? Like, would you have got into punk if punk was the music from where you grew up?
Well, I mean, at least in my household, we were kind of allowed to play any and everything. So it was kind of a no holds barred thing. I feel like the more so the reason why I got into hip hop, first of all, just me being who I am, like hip hop was always going to be there, and I knew that from a very young age that it was always going to be there. So I kind of used that as a sign that I should probably go out on my own will and search out for like all the weird stuff. That way, when I circle back around to hip hop, I'll have like a truly eclectic ear and more to add should I want to make music in the future outside of just staying in this one specific lane, and anything that challenges that reality that I've made for myself is just weird. I don't like people like that.
So you like to listen to a bit of everything and anything, and not just a hip hop guy.
Oh no, not at all, man. I grew up on a lot of like post-hardcore bands, hardcore punk before I even started touching base with a lot of hip hop acts. Like I think my brother put me on to acts like Dance Gavin Dance and bands like Evergreen Terrace, all the way to like some of the more like slower stuff like Sunny Day Real Estate or Foo Fighters and even The Cure, Smashing Pumpkins. Like it's just I'm just all over the place as far as like stuff. And then after that, I started getting into more of the heavier stuff like Converged, or even like today, like there's this band called Knocked Loose, and they're from Kentucky, and they make metalcore, and they're fantastic. And then I'll listen to something else that's a bit more peppier, but still has that hardcore status. Like Turnstile is a really good example. They're a fantastic band, and they be doing front flips into the crowd and shit like that. They're just awesome.
Do you take influences from all that music? Do you hear that in your hip hop, or is it just something that you listen to?
I don't think so, but I've heard from a lot of people like who do consume my music that they see it. They see it like bright red when they see it. It's
Yeah.
mainly when I'm performing though. I don't know necessarily if it's more obvious when like in the studio versions, but I definitely take a lot of my on stage persona from the hardcore scene and just how they get down. It's just very vibrant over there.
How about in terms of your live show? Like when you perform live, is it like a punk show? Is it really like aggressive and kind of confrontational show? If you got people jumping around is it quite a lively show? What's that like?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like I remember I was doing shows like in basements where it would be only 8 to 10 people, and we still figure out a way to use up all that space because I guess it's just with the type of music that I grew up with. It was just a very cathartic, aggressive, I guess surface that it came from. And then for a while when I was younger, I used to make just music like that where it was just like everything was peaking, everything was clipping and everything. And then after a while, since I started to learn about the world a little bit more, and now there's more dynamic stuff, there's melodies, and there's even straight up genre hopping. Like I just made a record called Government before this one, and that was basically a synth pop record.
What made you go so far away from your previous record?
Well, that was more so a collaborative thing. I'm pretty sure because yeah, I was working on that record for about 3 full years with this other producer. His name is Black Magic, and then after that, I was like, okay, this is cool, but it's not me. I don't feel like the audience is actually learning about who I am. And I was working on 3 records at the time anyway. In between that, my newest record, Speedway Deluxe, and my band, Vibe World Order, who's like a rap collective. We were working on our label debut at the time. So I'm kind of used to just juggling multiple things at the same time. I was basically making 3 records in like simultaneously. So once the synth pop record dropped, it did what it did. It was cool. But once I dropped Speedway Deluxe, it was something completely different, 10 times more personal. And I felt like that was the reintroduction to the scene that I needed, because I spent a good 3 years just kind of just putting all my energy into the group stuff.
So this is you're fully breaking out on your own now. You're making a personal record. What's the response been to that kind of lyricism?
It's been really cool. Like, of course, since it's like my first proper like project back, it's been. I will say that I have seen more just surprise than anything that I'm capable of doing more than kind of just being the weird technical guy like in the on the group stuff. And
that's your role in the collective.
I mean, we don't really like to place any particular roles on anybody, but more often than not, everybody kind of just like does their own thing. Like my bandmate Jacob, he's really great with hooks and singing like melodic stuff. And we have another two members where they're just really great at verses. And me, I'm kind of like, okay, where do I fit in between this? Because I'm used to arranging the songs anyway. So I was like, okay, like I'll spread apart this verse from this verse. I basically make it all make sense. And if it needs my voice, I'm not going to do another verse and I can't do a second hook. So I had to figure out like a bridge section or something just to make the song whole instead of just the whole verse hook ordeal that usually happens in hip hop.
When you're working with the collective, do people's egos get in the way of things? Do you ever find that you're butting heads about decisions, or do you work well together?
90% of the time we work very well together because we're friends first, bandmates second and stuff. But I think the only time that we truly butt heads is when it's something going on in like our personal lives that's beginning to seep into the music. But more often than not, that gets kind of called out, or we try our best to just make the situation not hostile, because everything that we do in terms of the group stuff is just so based on momentum that as soon as anything throws us off, it's very difficult to get the morale back up to want to finish something, especially since we're like a 7-piece band. So it's very easy for those house of cards to fall.
How do you get back in the studio after something like that? Does it take a long time before you can make something good again?
I mean, no, we're all pretty talented, I'll say. So, I mean, they say that an amateur waits for inspiration, but a professional goes in and just does the work. So when it comes down to it, we know we're gonna put out something great, but we would prefer that everybody be on the same page and in good spirits when we do it. So it's not necessarily difficult, but we have all decided to take a bit of a hiatus for a while so that everybody else could have a chance to make their own artistic statements. And that was kind of a mutual thing, especially after we saw how much of a nerve-wracking experience putting out our label debut was. We just wanted to just get back to making material that's fun.
Your solo work was much more personal in terms of lyrics. What's the message behind the collective's work?
I feel like I don't know. I don't want to sound corny, but it's, I don't know. I guess friendship or something.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that. I don't know. Like I've never really been asked that question before. I would probably just say that you could come from multiple different backgrounds and still make great stuff and still find a way to connect. You know, we're all humans at the end of the day. So yeah, I'd probably say that, because nobody walks the exact same walk of life as another person. So the fact that we found a way to make 8 people all fit into one room, and it's not pandemonium and we're not coming at each other's necks, it's a beautiful thing.
How do you think things will go now you've done your solo project? Are you looking at getting things back together at some point soon to do another group release?
Yeah, of course. That was kind of the plan. Like, we just wanted to give everybody their own space to just, I guess, expand on their own artistic identity and just figure out exactly what that was. That way, when we all regroup, we have so many more dimensions to what we can do outside of just making the same record that we were doing 2-3 years ago. I feel like we were really afraid that for a while, especially with being signed to a label, that we'd get caught in this formula extremely quick, because you see that with a lot of certain acts. It's like something works the first time and nobody ever shut ups about that one time. You know what I mean? So it's damned if
you've already got the label telling you to stay within a certain few parameters. Have you? They're expecting you to do the same thing again.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I don't think it's the label saying it up front, but we do get that a lot from I don't want to say the fans either, because the fans are pretty eclectic. They're pretty open to what it is that we do. It's more so I guess you could say the curators, you know, like stuff like Fashionably Early, Lyrical Lemonade, like a lot of those blogs and people who do journalism for those blogs. I feel like everybody has their own idea as towards what we should sound like based on everything except us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so you read a review about your work and you don't feel like people really get what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different stuff when it comes to the group material. I've heard that all our songs sound like 5 different songs wrapped into one, and some people love it. Some people are just like, "Oh my god, it's like it's so like where's is it supposed to? Where does it all connect?" And I'm just like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, bro, but this is like 5 different people. Every song is a posse cut. We can't make a 45-second song. There's 5 people here. Everybody's gonna be doing like 2 bars at a time. Nobody's gonna know what's going on." But I've seen,
for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen what else? It's almost like a certain listener will kind of gravitate towards one specific section of the song, and then it's like somebody will like me will come in where I have to do something different, or else it just becomes boring, and then they'll get taken out of the song. It's weird. I feel like there's a lot of conditioning that comes with dealing with a group like this because everybody is so different from the other. So it's my dad talks about it a lot.
Is your dad a musical? Is your dad a musician as well?
No, he loves smooth jazz though.
Yeah.
So much. Yeah, he's the type of person who will like he'll like turn on like the car and he'll play the news through the car, and then he'll open up a newspaper. So he'll at the same time. So he'll read and listen to the news at the same time. He's a very, just off to the side, like just trying to see what's happening with the world, old fashioned kind of guy. But whenever he does put on music, 9 out of 10 times it's like smooth jazz. So
what does he think of the kind of music you guys make?
In the beginning, my dad didn't want me to do music for a while, actually. For a really long time.
What did he plan for you?
Well, we're all extremely tall people in my family. He's like 6'7". I'm 6'4", and obviously he wanted us to do athletics and stuff like that. So basketball, baseball, anything, anywhere I can get into doing sports and go to college for it, that was like his dream for me.
Did you go to college in the end?
No, I did not.
Oh, so you got straight into the music world from that? Because that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have been training to be a musician since I was 10 years old, and I'm 22 now. So well over 10 years. I had no other plans than to do this. I never took a SAT prep course. I never took any sort of college tour or anything. Like that was never in the cards for me.
So it wasn't a difficult sell to tell your parents that you didn't want to go to college. You could just say, like, they knew it was coming, that you were going to be a musician. They could see it happening.
Well, more so my mother knew off the bat that is what was going to happen. But it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow for my dad. And because for a long time, I kind of was just doing stuff because he wanted me to, like such as like playing sports, honestly, like playing soccer or football, as y'all call it over there. Baseball, like just basically every sport in the book. He was trying to like find something for me to fall in love with that wasn't as unstable as music, but my heart was just never in it. It was difficult to tell him that because I knew that basically like the trajectory of our relationship was kind of in jeopardy if I was to say something like that. But that was the point where you just have to let your child just be their own individual instead of somebody that you're modeling them to be.
Yeah, for sure. Was he in sports then? Was that his career?
No, he wanted to be for a while. He was in sports like in high school or something like that. But then I think he got the chance to play college basketball for a little bit, and then for whatever reason, he kind of had to close and shut that door, and he just ended up just going to school instead, and he put down sports for his whole life. So that always kind of had an effect on me in terms of my dad didn't get the chance to do what he wanted to do ultimately, like his whole life, because of just external conditions, something completely outside of between him and sports. So he never got a chance to follow his dream, and that's terrifying for me. Absolutely terrifying. Like, it keeps me up at night thinking that my life could go that way. So I just double down on the music even more and just make sure that nothing gets in the way of that.
If you go over to the Who's Flying the Plane YouTube channel, you can watch the latest episodes of In the Studio, our video series talking to artists and creatives about their craft and showing the environments they work in. All of Series 1 is now available to watch, and the first episode of Series 2 is available now. And if you keep an eye out, they'll be uploaded every other Friday. So just go onto YouTube and search for Who's Flying the Plane, or you can follow the link in the description for this episode. I wanted to ask you about having your music featured on this Amazon Prime show called Fairfax.
Yeah.
When you get a gig like that, does that make your dad feel a bit more sure that this is a bit more of like a confirmed sign of success? You're getting a paycheck for that. That's like a bigger deal than just going out and doing gigs.
Yeah.
How did that come about, that job?
The label stuff. Honestly, when we signed, they got us in with the team, with the sync licensing team, and they just shopped around all our music to everybody, really. So it was cool because like, me personally, I didn't have on the cards that my music would be on television for at least like another 2 years or whatever. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. And I was actually on tour when the show premiered. So I called my dad like a week or two into the tour. I'm in Florida. Never been anywhere, by the way. Almost spent like 98% of my life in Jersey. So this is my first time like leaving for business. And I'm calling him. I'm like, "Yo, Dad, one, I'm on tour. Secondly, I'm on TV. So if you want to check that out." But I definitely do feel like my dad kind of has a bit of a outdated idea as towards how the music industry works, considering all this technology that we have now. I feel like he's kind of like, okay, so you find a record label, you shop them your demo tape, and if they like you, you get $1 million. And I'm like, no, that is definitely not how it works anymore. It is not 1964. It hasn't been that way for decades. Honestly. But yeah, he's definitely way more confident now in what I'm doing. It's just a matter of just holding off and keeping up everything going on around me that has nothing to do with music until one day I can make that call to him and to my mom that, you can quit your job now. Like, I got us forever. Like, you can hang out.
You want to tell me a little bit about your latest release?
Yes, I would love to. So I put out a project called Speedway Deluxe. It's a deluxe version of an EP that I put out earlier last May called Speedway, which is like 5 tracks. It basically depicts like the 5 stages of grief after like the dissolution of a relationship and stuff like that, like a really bad toxic relationship. And I'm basically going down every stage like with those tracks, because everybody knows like the first stage is Denial, and that coincides with the first track, Drama, which basically starts after this protagonist, like after this protagonist had a fight with his girl or his partner in general. And it just features me kind of channeling this sort of almost like arrogant energy where it's like, yo, it doesn't matter if we fought. I got all these problems in my life. Why you keep showing back up and all this other stuff, and almost just being like, I don't care if we fought. You probably gonna come back sometime. Who cares? Whatever. In the meantime, we're not together, and I'm just gonna do whatever it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it features this artist from Seattle, Miss Kennedy K. Shouts out to her because she hopped on the vocals, like she did a feature, and she just came with this real bratty type energy where she was just kind of just calling out whoever it is that she felt like calling out. And for a lot of these songs that I wrote on this record, it's kind of written in a space where it's meant to be interpreted in like multiple different ways. So the first song could be me just being like, I don't care, you're gonna come back anyway, so I'ma just do me in the meantime. Or it could be like me and Kennedy like having the fight or the verbal argument in the song or something like that. It's pretty loosely based, but that's basically what goes on for the entire project. But the thing that makes Speedway Deluxe a bit different is that I took all the songs from the EP, put it at the front end, and then I added 3 songs that I was making during the sessions, and then I asked a lot of my friends like, hey, do you want to do a remix? Do you want to basically break my song apart and then piece it all together with the super glue that is your production? You know, just make your own remix of it. And yeah, like I got a lot of people on it, a good amount of folks. My bandmate Guinea from VWO is on the Max Payne remix, which I just released a lyric video for, by the way, so check that out. I also got a friend of mine, DJ Dannyverse. He did a reggaeton remix of the second track called Ola Ola, which is basically about me being a whore on a break. and stuff like that. And I got a good amount of my friends on it too. My friend Alejandro and Destiny, they come from an actual Latino background, so it only felt appropriate to have them on there, and they just did their thing. They were awesome. And yeah, I also felt like a good objective for Speedway was just to show my range to this industry that I'm trying to break into, because there's trap, there's drill, there's indie pop, gospel, what else? Like there's just so much more. There's boom bap rap, there's sample rap, there's singing, fucking organs, yodeling. It's front to back. I make sure that I don't make the same song twice. That is for sure.
If you're thinking about making such different sounds here and there, and you're drawing from all different genres, you must think about collaboration with artists. If there's someone out there who, like, not a friend, but someone from a different world who you'd really love to be produced by or to work with on a track?
Honestly, all the time. I think about it a lot. Like, for instance, I grew up on a lot of artists such as Danny Brown, Earl Sweatshirt, Wiki. Das Racist was a huge influence to me growing up, because they were just like 3 brown guys from New York, and it's just like straight out of college, and they're making like stoner rap, but they had like also this background where they could talk about politics, but in a very easy to understand way. I love them a lot. LP made me want to start making beats. He made me want to start making my own beats. He's absolutely insane. Killer Mike, obviously, they're like best friends. Who else? Just I feel like there's so many more that I would love to do, and even outside of hip hop, like I would love to make a record with like Jack White from the White Stripes, because he's out of his mind. He's like he's just so wild. Like what he's done for like the garage rock revival of like the late 90s to 2000s is just insane. Like he's fantastic. I wanted to be like Jack White, somebody like Jack White, or like Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day growing up, where it was just like they have so much personality on stage, and then you listen to their records and it holds up. You could hear the sass, you can hear all these nuances and how they sing certain things and how they play their instruments. So yeah, if there's anybody in particular that I can name off the top of my head, probably like Danny Brown, 110%, Jack White, 110%, and if I got a beat or like a beat pack from LP, I would give him my absolute best bars. Like it would be it'd be a dream of mine to do a song with LP so much.
Reg, what would you like to offer up as your Who's Flying the Plane hidden gem?
I would like to shout out my boy Kurt, Curt. He did some of the production on my album. He played organs on the song Mad at You, and he did a bunch of like piano work and synth work, and he even did his own remix, which is the very last song on the album, called Babe, I Think It's Time, Kurt remix. He's just absolutely fantastic in every way. Like he's so well versed, he's technically skilled on like pianos, organs, and all that other stuff, but he's also like a great like producer. Like he knows how to make records. He knows how to do a lot with a little, and I think that within the next probably 2-3 years, once he gets a couple projects under his belt where it's like he gets to make his own artistic statement to the world, he's gonna really shake stuff up. I'm really rooting for him, and we're gonna make a whole lot of more music in the future. But yeah, he's fantastic. Shouts out to my boy Curtis.
If you could tell the listeners where we can keep up to date with what you do, when your next releases are out, what they should be listening to, anything like that, let us know.
Oh yeah, so I just put out my album Speedway Deluxe. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, basically everywhere that they show music and stuff like that. Yeah. I'll have a direct like smart URL link set just for that. Also, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube. I just released a lyric video for one of the songs off of the album called Max Payne. There's a lot of editing and just a lot of it has its own artistic style that's kind of akin to, I don't know if you ever played the video game Max Payne, but it's classic. It's a classic shooter. Yeah. And stuff like that. And yeah, and then also feel free to get into my group stuff, Vibe World Order. You can find us anywhere, and even on Amazon Prime. Fairfax episode 5. Yeah, go ahead and watch that if you want. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for talking to me today, Reg.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it.